Since it's been back in my possession, I have promised it will stay with me. And that means that I can do whatever I like with it. Anyway, back to the point. Today is a special day because I'm going to take this car out so I can show you what it's like when you have a 1.4 with a 52mm throttle body and a remap. Tom Turbo, the man with the beard, remapped Nigel, and I'm going to show you how much difference it's actually made. Some of my subscribers have been here from the beginning and know the whole story of Nigel, but what happens an awful lot is I do get asked questions about him, and I often say, well, there are videos of it, but on this occasion I thought I might as well go through some of the important bits. In brief, Nigel wasn't Nigel. It used to be just an old Rover 25 that was completely unloved, was bought for £110, outbidding the scrap man by a tenner. And I drove it and thought, this is fantastic, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just a pity that such an unglamorous looking thing was destined for scrap. 2 months later I re-MOT'd it, where it passed without an advisory, sold it, then bought it back a year later, then sold it, then bought it back 6 months later. Essentially the car was saved from scrap 3 times by me, and the 3rd time was the time where I thought, that's it, this car needs to live. It's undergone many a change exterior wise, but the engine is original, the gearbox is original, all of the suspension components besides a ball joint and a track rod end are original. 20,000 joyful, happy miles. And of course this car is pretty well known these days, although the whole backstory doesn't seem to be. So it's currently a good working car with no issues. To my mind, the Rover 25 is one of the most underrated cars going. They don't really go wrong. The suspension never seems to pack up on them. The 1.4K series engine is such an underrated little motor. It's really zingy, it's really happy to go, and I like it more than the 1.6 and the 1.8, just quite simply for how free revving it actually is. The one thing that's missing from the 1.4 normally is torque, but this one always felt just a bit better than it should. Originally this car would have come out of the factory with the restricted throttle body, which only opens halfway, and then somebody put an unrestricted throttle body on it, and that was before I got it. And according to Tom, it had already been a bit remapped, so that would explain why it always felt quite quick in the first place. But since then I fitted the 52mm throttle body and the cable of course, and didn't really find it make much difference. But then, so I believe you need a remap for that as well. You might notice it does sound ever so slightly induction-y, but it's got a standard airbox. It's just that there's a bit of pipe right down at the bottom that's missing, and that means that you get a bit more of that suction sound, but it's sucking in cold air rather than hot. The brakes are standard on it, which might be a mistake, but in all honesty I don't really thrash it, and I always see that as a good thing because it means that when you do give it the beans, it doesn't half feel great. I did mean to clean this interior before taking it out, but it's just a bit too unpleasant outside. Apologies for anybody that's heard all of this stuff before, but not everybody has. You see, I think the Rover 25 is about as happy a driving car you can get. It just feels right. It drives better than the previous car because the suspension has been ever so slightly stiffened up, but when you consider that the back end is just a maestro, they really did do an amazing job. But with this colour scheme, and it is how I want it, it's not random. Not entirely. It's made to look random, but there's some design in there There's no way I would find the same joy in driving with any other car that I do with this. Of course, what you're interested in is, does that remap make any difference? Or does it make much difference? Or is it a complete waste of time? No ABS, so I've got to be a bit careful on these damp roads. But even in third gear, it just really goes. Let's concentrate on driving a little bit rather than just actually drive. The back end does feel like it could slip out if I'm not a bit careful. Big pothole to avoid there. On this seems to be adding quite a bit of torque actually. Even third gear pulls really rather aggressively. So through first and second, it's if you can grip, it will go rather well. These are definitely not the best conditions for going for a quick flat out in your remapped motor. Now the truth is, I've got little idea on how many horsepower this car now has. I could come up with some sort of figure, some sort of estimation, but obviously I'm going to get knocked out for that and be told that there's no way that 1.4 is kicking out that amount of power. So, well, I'm not going to estimate at all. I'm just going to say it's a bit more than what it would have been otherwise, because it feels a lot more than it would have been otherwise. And crucially, it actually feels like enough. As an everyday fun car, this is it. This has enough power. To me, this has the same kind of get up and go as the Rover 420 GSI that I have, which is surprising because obviously that has a lot more torque and it has a lot more power from standard. But of course that could be my imagination. And one thing that won't be the case is the top end power, because this does rev up really quickly and gets going quickly. But you know, much beyond 70, where you don't need to be going anyway, it's not going to be pulling as well as the 420 or indeed a diesel. So in conclusion, the remap has done quite a good job on this, I reckon, because it's the torque that seems to be improved more than the power. Normally the 1.4 is a really peaky little engine. You've got to wring the nuts off of it to make it do much. But with this, the power's low down as well. And that makes it really good for going between 30 to 60, getting on the motorway. Actually, you know, when I've clogged it onto the motorway, it really, there's no excuse for not joining at motorway speeds. I like this bit of road here because it's a 30 limit, so I'll stick at 30 and let cars ahead get ahead of me because they'll be doing 35 or 40, then get to the 50 and then go to 50 and catch them up. 30 and 50. I reckon that's quick enough. There are cars that will do all these drives I'm doing there without any possibility of you getting flipped off the road. What's the fun in that though? So as I finish off this video, I'm going to tell you this. I want to make this engine last. It's got 116,000 miles on it now. I'm going to keep servicing it. I could obviously at some point go for the option of having a turbo put in it. Tom suggested this to me and he would help, and that would be great, but would it spoil it? Would it make it too quick? Yeah, it would. For the kind of use I want for this car, which is everyday use, going to shows, this has the right amount of get up and go. It doesn't need to be any faster, but I'm glad it's not any slower. This car has been in the hands of the YouTube celebrities as well. It's appeared on Drivetrain, it's appeared on JM on Cars, and in actual fact, JM, James Martin, really liked it. It's just a pity that his video of this car is probably one of his least viewed videos going. From what he said, driving this car rekindled his love for the MG Mark, and then he went out and bought one, and then another, and he's going to be buying another one soon. It appeared on the Furious Driving channel, as did I, and hopefully I reckon Hubnut should have a go at this as well. Hubnut like it. You think that's impressive? Well, this car even was reviewed by Boaty's World. So, there we go. Thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, thank you for being a channel member, thank you for liking the video, thank you for liking, thank you for sharing, thank you for listening, thank you for watching, thank you for staying all the way to the end, thank you.